The French submarine Surcouf holds a unique place in naval history, not just for its size, but for the uniqueness and boldness of its design and the controversy surrounding its sinking. Named after the famed French privateer Robert Surcouf, this submarine was a product of an era when navies were experimenting with the new ways to dominate the oceans and circumvent the naval restrictions imposed by the Washington Naval Treaty. When it was completed, it was the largest submarine ever built. Surcouf was designed in the late 1920s by the French Navy as a part of an ambitious plan to create a fleet of submarine cruisers. The concept was born from France's need to protect its extensive colonial empire and the belief that such submarines could serve as both offensive and defensive tools in the event of a conflict. At 110 meters long and displacing over 4,300 tons when fully loaded, Surcouf was a true leviathan of its time. Most submarines of the period were far smaller and designed primarily for coastal defense or relatively short patrols. But Surcouf was conceived as a submarine cruiser, capable of independent action and supporting long-range missions. It had an impressive range of over 10,000 nautical miles and could stay out on patrol for up to 90 days. However, it was its armament that truly set it apart. Most notably, it was armed with two massive 203mm guns housed in a pressure-tight turret just forward of the conning tower. Most submarines at the time had a single deck gun that was between 88 and 105mm. The only submarine to come close was the British M-class, which had a 304mm gun, but it was fixed, meaning the submarine had to rotate and face the way it was shooting. Surcouf's dual guns could rotate. These guns gave the Surcouf an unprecedented level of surface firepower for a submarine, making it capable of engaging surface vessels at long range. In theory, this meant it could duel with light cruisers or destroyers, something no other submarine could dream of at the time. In addition to these formidable guns, it also carried 10 torpedo tubes, including a unique trainable torpedo tube located in its aft section. Unlike traditional submarines with fixed tubes, this design allowed the tube to swivel, giving the submarine flexibility in targeting without altering its course. The aft tube could be used in both surface and submerged operations. This innovation enabled Surcouf to maintain a stealthy approach while still engaging enemy vessels from multiple angles, enhancing its combat effectiveness. Another audacious feature of the Surcouf was a small hangar aft of the conning tower which housed a reconnaissance seaplane. This seaplane could be catapulted from the submarine and used for scouting missions, significantly extending the sub's operational reach. The concept was that the plane could help locate enemy shipping targets or even direct the Surcouf's long-range guns. It had a crew complement of over 110, 3 times bigger than your average submarine, making it larger and more complex to operate than most submarines of the time. The interior is spacious compared to typical submarines, with a galley, a wardroom for officers, and enough space to transport 40 passengers or hold 40 prisoners. In 1940, following the fall of France to Nazi Germany, Surcouf's fate took a dramatic turn. Like many French ships, it found itself in a precarious position. The submarine was being refitted in Brest when Germany invaded. Unable to dive and with only one working engine, she hobbled her way across the English Channel to Plymouth. When France surrendered, the British gave the French ships docked in their ports 2 options: continue to fight along Britain in the Free French Navy, or internment in the USA or French overseas possessions. Knowing that the British were going to try to seize the submarine, and with orders to scuttle the boat, the French stationed sentries and closed all hatches but one. The British sent 60 men to seize the ship. They were able to get inside the ship via a rescue hatch on the conning tower that would be used in emergencies. Tensions escalated as the British tried to get the French to surrender and they refused. Eventually, guns were drawn and shots fired. This resulted in the deaths of 3 British and 1 French sailor. The French eventually surrendered. Now under British control, the Surcouf's refit was complete and she was assigned to the Free French Navy. For the rest of 1940 and into 1941, it was mainly used for patrols and convoy escort duties in the Atlantic. It also ventured to Canada and the United States, helping to bolster the dwindling French naval presence. However, despite its impressive specifications on paper, the submarine was never able to live up to its potential as a formidable commerce raider or navy cruiser. Despite its ambitious design, the submarine was plagued by technical issues and operational challenges. The massive 8-inch guns, while impressive in theory, proved difficult to use in practice. firing them from the relatively unstable platform of a surface submarine was problematic, especially in rough seas, where accuracy would degrade dramatically. The need to surface and prepare the guns for firing also made the submarine vulnerable, negating some of the advantages of stealth that submarines typically enjoyed. Another issue was the hangar in the seaplane. The process of launching the floatplane was time consuming and required calm seas, further limiting its practicality in real world conditions. Additionally, by the time World War II began, advancements in radar and aerial reconnaissance had started to make such planes obsolete for submarines. The operational challenges that plagued Surcouf's career were overshadowed by its mysterious and controversial demise. In February 1942, Surcouf was sent on a mission to the Pacific Theatre to reinforce French naval forces in the region. After refueling in Bermuda, the submarine set sail for the Panama Canal. It was in this leg of the journey, however, that Surcouf vanished. Official records suggest that Surcouf was accidentally rammed by an American freighter off the coast of Panama on the night of February 18, 1942. According to the freighter's crew, they collided with an unidentified submerged vessel in the dark, but believing it to be a U-boat, they continued their journey. It is also plausible that they were sunk by the 6th Bomber Group operating out of Panama. They recorded sinking a submarine on February 19th, but no German U-boats were recorded being sunk. Unfortunately, the wreckage has never been found, so there's no definitive proof of what happened to the Surcouf. The Surcouf was a bold experiment in submarine design, combining the roles of a surface combatant, a raider, and an undersea vessel. Despite its groundbreaking characteristics, it was ultimately a design ahead of its time, or perhaps one that simply asked too much of the technology available in the 1930s and 40s. The limitations of its guns, the cumbersome nature of its seaplanes, and the complexity of its operations all meant the Surcouf never achieved the success its designers had envisioned.